You and I share something in common. We both suck. And no, I'm not talking about sipping juice through a straw. We are both genuinely bad at a lot of things. But guess what? That's perfectly fine. As a wise dog once said,
sucking at something is the first step towards being sorta good at something.
being bad, unskilled, or failing at something is simply the first step. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you were born, or what circumstances were handed to you when you were born. Everyone goes through the painful process of being bad and becoming better. Sure, it's a slow and tedious process, but what if I told you that you can speed it up tremendously? That's exactly what this video is about. In this video, I'm sharing my insights on how to stop sucking and how to do it effectively. Before we dive into how to stop sucking, let's explore why we suck in the first place. And let's go back in time to the most important part of everyone's life. Let's go back when you were born. When your mom was rushed to the hospital to push you out of her womb, you were soft, defenseless, and quite frankly, just useless. You didn't understand anything. You didn't know how to feed yourself. You didn't know how to go to the toilet. You relied completely on everybody else to keep you alive. But as you got older, your parents, friends, and teachers, they did the best to teach you new things, to help you develop new skills and to socialize you. And eventually, through a lot of time, through a lot of repetitions, you grew into the person that you are today. But here's the caveat. This transformation did not happen overnight. It's been a long road, but it's important to remember where you started. You started completely useless, and nobody expected you to be useful at anything. Hell, nobody expects a baby to go and file taxes, apply to a job, or score A's in school. Nah, you were expected to suck. And this brings me to the first point. Expect to suck. You should turn down your expectations. You should expect to suck. Because you can't be great at something that you have never tried before. If you see someone else nailing something on the first try, it's very likely that they have some skills or had some similar areas that they have some practice in. Let's say you and your friend both start learning the guitar. If you both start practicing the same amount of time, but your friend masters a skill way quicker than you do, it's very easy to feel that you are very untalented and your friend is this higher being that just is better than you. But consider maybe that your friend grew up playing another instrument, that maybe his family is very musical and his parents try to foster it, or maybe that he has just a way higher affinity to music than you do. Most people don't start on the same playing field, even though it might look like they do. And the same principle applies to anything that you can learn in life. Let's imagine for a minute that you start running. You really want to get into it. You join a 5K race and suddenly somebody just breezes past you in 20 minutes. And you're still struggling to get past the 40-minute mark. You just can't assume that you're bad at it. And I don't think you would assume that you're terrible at running, because you know that the person who runs way faster than you probably has a lot more training behind them. They have just exercised way more than you did. And you know it, and you're not gonna be upset because of it, because you know that that fast person is fast because they learned. That applies to everything. Likewise, imagine you start a YouTube channel. You upload your first video and it gets one single view. And then you look at another YouTube channel, they upload their first video and they get 10,000 views on the first video. You can't let that discourage you, because what you see is this one video that the person created. What you don't see is all what happened behind the scenes. You don't know if the person has learned writing over years and practiced in other categories. Maybe they learned a little bit of film and editing and it all came together into their first video that went to 10,000 straight away. They have probably spent a lot of time practicing other skills beforehand and you just can't see it. There's nothing wrong with that. We always compare each other. It's natural. So the key is really to not compare your first attempt with anybody else's first attempt, because you never know what is behind the first attempt. If you expect to suck, you will not feel discouraged if you don't succeed in the first try. Instead, you will be way more willing to push through the bad stages into the good stages, even when progress feels slow. But now that we understand where sucking is coming from, let's talk about how to change it. One powerful method that I personally like to use, which is time efficient and quite effective, is something that I call the M&N technique. M&N stands for morning and night, and this simple practice can help you from going to bed to good in a very, very short amount of time. The M&M technique. Most people approach learning completely wrong. They follow a series of steps that won't help them reach the goal that they desire. Back when I was at school, no teacher tried to teach us how to actually learn. We were left to figure these things out on our own. This meant for me to struggle through a chaotic routine. For example, here's what my study schedule looked like. Get notified of the exam date. Open the book and leave it untouched before the day of the exam. Start studying late in the evening the night before. Cram as much as you can on the way to school in the next morning. Anxiously sit through the exam and hope for the best. Sounds familiar? No one ever cared to explain the right way to absorb information. I had to learn through trial and error. But after going through a lot of different techniques, that's when I eventually stumbled across the M&N technique. Or you can also call it the morning/night practice. It's very simple really. Instead of trying to study for a couple hours sometime randomly in the day, I rather spend 30 minutes first thing in the morning and 30 minutes last thing in the evening studying whatever I want to learn. This method does two important things. First, it targets your attention early in the morning when your mind is the freshest. The morning is the prime time to study because that's when your mind is in a blank state. It's rested and it had time to process all the information from yesterday. Afterwards, it's ready to absorb new information. Afterwards, as you go throughout your day, this morning practice puts whatever you want to learn into your subconscious mind, which processes data in approximately 25,000 times faster than your conscious mind can. Then at night, just before you go to bed, you practice again. This will tell your brain, hey, this is important. This repetition helps cement whatever you want to learn into your mind. Plus, this taps into the so-called serial position effect, which pretty much shows that we memorize the first and the last position of a sequence the best. So by starting and ending your day with practice, you take advantage of this natural tendency to learn more effectively. If you are in a hurry, have a deadline, or are just simply pressed for time, you can of course extend the practice time from 30 minutes to 60 minutes, however long you need. But 30 minutes twice a day with enough time is already enough. And here's the best thing. It's something that you can actually do every single day without burning out. Now, learning and getting better only works if you follow the next step as well, which is loop the machine. Your body is the vehicle that was given to you to navigate through the world. It's a gift that everybody receives regardless of where they were born, although it comes in different forms. We all have unique genetics, experiences, and life circumstances. But no matter where you were born, what your skin color is, or how many freckles you have on your face, you still need to take care of your physical body. Your body is the instrument through which you experience everything. It lets you move. It lets you pursue your dreams. It helps you build relationships and love others. In short, your body is the tool for living. So taking care of it is non-negotiable. So here are some basics that you just can't ignore. Cleanliness. Wash your body, teeth, and the clothing that you wear. Sleep. Have a healthy sleeping habit. At least 8 to 10 hours a day at night. Diet. Eat mostly whole foods with a large focus on your protein content. And if you can, organic and grass-fed food is fantastic. Exercise, resistance training, cardio, sprints, and stretching. Of course, there are way more disciplines and parts in life that you have to take care of, like mental health or drug use. But the point here is clear. Making sure your body functions is not hard. It just takes a commitment of small and deliberate changes. And trust me, your body really deserves to be cared for. And now that you took care of your body, which I know you have, hammer it in. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Bruce Lee. The antidote to sucking is doing it more. The antidote to sucking is exposure. The antidote to being bad at something is simple. Practice more. If you struggle with writing, it's because you don't write enough. If you find it hard to approach people, it's because you don't approach enough people. If you're a bad driver, it's because you don't drive enough. Being unskilled essentially is a lack of practice. However, it's also equally important to practice the right things. Like a blacksmith shaping metal, each repetition is like a swing with the hammer. But we must ensure that we're not forging in the wrong habits in the process. This might offend you, But you're good at League of Legends because you play every day. You excel at procrastination because you always procrastinate. You've become adept at punishing yourself because you keep punishing yourself. And I need to say it again. Both positive and negative behavior are reinforced with every repetition. And starting to embrace positive habits can be quite difficult for one simple reason. People don't allow themselves to fail. Which brings me to the next point. Invite failure in your life. Failing means you took a step. Failing means you have the cojones to move forward. Failing means you're rewriting the conditioning of your past. I remember back in my school days when failing was far from something positive. Teachers always discouraged students to try something new. They instead wanted everybody to fall in line and just do as they were told. Mistakes were punished. Cooperation was punished. Voicing your opinion, if it's different from the teachers, was punished. This kind of behavior, which is usually very beneficial in regular life, is systematically beaten out of children to make them obedient. However, this approach comes with a big disadvantage to the individual. Because to be truly successful in life, you need to be brave, cooperative, and make mistakes. Every successful person that you see in life, every big figure, they didn't get there by always just winning. They got there by failing forward a million times, over and over and over again, until they ultimately win. So don't let that old conditioning win. Embrace failure. Your future self will thank you. To summarize, being bad, struggling, and failing is just the natural state of every human being. There's nothing wrong with it, as we are all born this way. You and I were both defenseless babies. However, with enough determination and with the right approaches, we can move beyond that infant stage. We all have the potential to learn new skills and excel at them if you put in the effort. Why not everybody can become the best at anything? Anyone can become competent at anything with enough grit, effort, and repetition. I know you can do it because I've been there myself. And it works. So what are you waiting for? Go out there and start sucking. But before you go, if you're interested in flipping and making money while flipping, check out my last video, in which I go over the 7 habits that make me money as a reseller. I'll see you there.